Some emotional testimony that we witnessed and watched this morning on Capitol Hill. This coming from survivors of the Club Q mass shooting in Colorado Springs. They spoke to lawmakers in Washington about their experiences and also the rise of anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and violence. Melanie Zanone is live on Capitol Hill. She's been watching this all morning for us. Melanie, what's been happening in this hearing?
Yeah, this has been an emotional hearing, and the last one, I should point out, from the House Oversight Committee before Republicans take over. Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney has been a longtime advocate for LGBTQ rights, and so this is an issue near and dear to her heart. Now, the goal of the hearing was to explore how anti-LGBTQ policies have fueled a rise in violence against the community, as well as the rise in extremist rhetoric we have seen online. We heard from experts who testified to that, who talked about ways to reduce hate crimes, with Republicans pushing back on the idea that their policies were in any way responsible for some of these horrific shootings and instead blaming the overall rise in crime. But aside from the policy debate, we heard about the real life impacts. We heard from some of the survivors from that Club Q shooting where a gunman walked into a club that was a safe haven for the gay community and opened fire, killing 5 people and injuring many others. One of those survivors, Michael Anderson, a bartender, talked about his horrific experience that night and also advocated for a ban on assault weapons. Take a listen.
I saw my friend lying on the floor, bleeding out, knowing there was little to no chance of surviving that bullet wound. I had to tell him goodbye while I continued to fear for my life. As leaders of our country, it is your obligation to represent all of us, not just the ones you happen to agree with. Hate speech turns into hate action, and actions based on hate almost took my life from me at 25 years old.
Now, we should also point out it is the 10-year anniversary today of the shooting massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary. Congress has only taken incremental steps, though, to reduce gun violence and to protect the LGBTQ community. And, Kate, it's only going to be harder in a divided Congress next year.
That's a good point and a harsh reality. That's right, Melanie. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Joining me now is James Slaw. He survived the Club Q attack, and he also is another one who just testified in that House hearing. And also with us is Sarah Kate Ellis. She's the CEO and president of GLAAD. James, let me start with you. What was it like for you sitting and speaking to lawmakers today? What was your message to them?
My message was regarding, first of all, addressing hate rhetoric. We need to, as Americans, as politicians, as media outlets, we need to stop the hate rhetoric. We need to be more cognizant of how we speak. And my other message was to the community. We need to embrace love. We need to not be afraid. We need to be loud and proud.
And James, how does it sit with you when, well, as Melanie was laying out, kind of, if you want to call it a policy dispute, though it is a very real life, could not be more real life than what you lived through, when you have some more like Republican members on that committee blaming the violence and attacks on the LGBTQ plus community on the overall rise in crime and violent crime we've seen across the country.
I think that erases our identity, and it erases just how targeted and marginalized and how dehumanized we have become. Just blaming an overall rise in violence is not the answer. That's not going to solve anything. I was disappointed, to say the least.
You were disappointed?
Extremely disappointed. Just hearing those words, being a victim of a mass shooting, taking a bullet in the arm, and then having 2 committee members walk out during our testaments, our testimonials there, that was just disappointing.
As you mentioned, you were shot, you're recovering from your wounds, your boyfriend was shot, your sister was shot multiple times, and you all are recovering still. For you, James, is it the physical wounds or the mental trauma that is the greater challenge to work through after what you've lived through and now you're still processing?
I think it might be a little bit of both. So, I mean, obviously the wounds here, I'm going to have to go through physical therapy. But the mental trauma for me has kind of fueled a fire that we need to do better. We need to address this hate rhetoric. We need to be advocates, and we need change.
Sarah Kate, can you talk to me about what you see as the impact of rhetoric and fueling hateful violence against the LGBTQ community. I mean, this type of hate is not new to the LGBTQ community, but do you see it as different now?
I see it as much more amplified than it's ever been before, and I think just to put this on a rise of crime takes away all of the attacks that have been coming at the LGBTQ community. Over 300 anti-LGBTQ bills proposed this past year, 150 attacks on drag events and LGBTQ events this past year, and when you see what's happening with the political rhetoric that is then going on social media platforms completely unchecked, it's turned into action that boils over into our communities and ends up at the front door of places like Club Q. So it does a complete disservice to blame this or point this just on a rise in crime. This is targeted against our entire community. We are being used as political footballs for right-wing media and right-wing politicians and extremists. And it's having, I mean, the Homeland Security 2 weeks ago put us on a target list to look out for ourselves because we are being targeted.
James, you were thrust into this. I mean, you're talking about you must become an advocate, and your experience is fueling this. But what is it like for you? I mean, you said you're disappointed in what you heard from some of the members on the panel. Do you regret testifying before them because of it?
Not at all. I am so glad that I could share my voice. I'm so glad for Chairwoman Maloney for allowing me to do so. That was an incredible experience, and I think I'm glad that we could all share our voice. I'm glad that, I'm not gonna forget this ever, and I want other people to know what it's like. I want other people to understand our struggles.
At the very same time, James, there is a moment also of a bright spot for you in the community as well. I mean, you were at the White House for the signing of the Respect for Marriage Act just yesterday, and I heard in an interview with CNN that you said that what that has shown to you is that love wins, and it's kind of this juxtaposition mashed into one of what you're talking about today and also then what you saw yesterday. This law doesn't do everything, but what does this law mean for you?
This law means that this is one step closer to equal rights. This is one step closer for me being able to marry the person I love and not have to be targeted by politicians. And it's going to, I think, help with that hate rhetoric. I think it's going to start to taper off that hate rhetoric. That's where we're going with this.